We left off with our dear protagonist having a book arrive at her desk in a warehouse, and apparently she was finally ready to learn the so-called secrets of immortality from this person, this very puzzling person that she met named Sid at a party in America one time. But the book that arrived at her desk was written in another language, and so she went off to find a teacher that could help her understand this ancient script. At a brief lull in the weather, I hailed an auto rickshaw and made my tortuous way to some town quite a distance away. A cluster of crooked, gravelled streets lined with shops, stalls, and shanties. The door to the pint-size and wittily named bookshop, Om Depot, Om Depot, was a mere slit in the crumbling brick facade sandwiched between the two equally crumbling but taller edifices. I bravely dismissed the rickshaw and slithered in sideways. "Hello? Anyone here?" I called out. Miss Nandi, the proprietor, emerged from the gloom. She was as beautiful and as timeless as she had been a year ago when I first met her. Her face creased like fine parchment, her large dark eyes lined with kohl, or how do I pronounce this? Kohl. There's an H before the L. And with an incongruous full head of white hair gaily plaited into a braid with red and green striped ribbons. "Oh, it's you, Tom Clancy," she said in lilting English. "Do you remember all your customers and their reading choices?" I asked. "I have such few customers," she said modestly. "And how could I forget how you were here last year when the rains would not stop? You wanted so badly to escape the dreariness. Where you come from, bad weather predictions are accurate and early preparations undertaken. Is that not so?" "That must be so." She searched for the right word. "That must be so comforting. And now the rains have come again." The monsoon that year had commenced with the usual theatrics. Heavy, dense clouds, searing flashes of lightning, whip cracks of thunder that rolled away rumbling into the distance, followed by a light drizzle that prompted frenzied dancing in the streets until it built up into a downpour that came down wrathfully. Roofs flew off, tents collapsed, and people were swept away. Each year this sequence was repeated, yet met with astonishment, a special blessing from the gods, a miracle never to be taken for granted. Except now, there were more unprotected people and a greater number of casualties. "I must seem like a spoiled brat to you," I said. "But please, no more Tom Clancy." "Robert Ludlum, then?" she asked hopefully. "Yesterday I received 6 copies of The Matarese Circle. I try to read all the books I get, and I have just started this one, and already it is most exciting." "I'll take a copy," I said quickly, and reached into my bag. "But I'm here for this," I said, handing her The Seer and the Scene. "I want to understand it, and I feel that I need to learn the language to do so. When I was here last year, you mentioned that before you retired, you used to teach Sanskrit." "I taught Sanskrit and Tamil," she said, taking a minute to examine the cover, an illustration of a spreading upside-down tree with its roots reaching for the sky and branches and leaves buried in the soil. She turned to the flyleaf. "Yes, Siddhanta," she sighed. "You know Sid? Is he also a professor?" "Siddhanta," she repeated softly, lingering over the word, savoring it. Siddhanta means established truth. People call him Siddh. The DH, is a dental sound, aspirated. May be difficult for you. You know him. Is he a professor? I repeated my question. No. I order books from a publishing house in Rishikesh in the Himalayan foothills. Sometimes I see him when I go. How do you know him? I met him years ago at a party in New York, then more recently at a conference on big data, I said, but did not elaborate. She continued to stare at the flyleaf, at Sid's penciled message. But why learn Sanskrit? She asked reasonably. No one speaks it. Dead language, not useful for someone like you. So that I can understand the text, I said. But where is the need? There is the English translation, commentary. For you, the alphabet alone will take a minimum of 1 year. Basic grammar, maybe 5, 6. I'll pay, I cut in. She looked up sharply, and I caught a glint of calculation. By the hour, like where I come from, I added. This was my way in. She was clearly surviving at a subsistence level. At a subsistence level. And teaching me would be easy money for her. Once she became used to being paid regularly, she would be obliged to me, and I could ask her to help me understand the implied meaning of the text. How could she refuse? Maybe I can teach the alphabet. A little grammar, she conceded. I agreed, and we fixed on a price for a lesson every week. We can begin right now, if you have time, she said. I did. She led me to a workroom behind the shop, at an altar cluttered with statues and framed garish prints of gods and goddesses. She lit the 5 wicks of a brass lamp and a few sticks of incense. She then eased herself to the floor, where she sat cross-legged. When I pulled up a metal folding chair, she shook her head in mild disapproval. It's painful for me to sit on the floor, I said. She nodded, then intoned a short invocation to the elephant god, then a prayer to the goddess of learning, and finally the designated prayer to be recited at the start of every lesson, one that amounted to a covenant between teacher and pupil. We prayed that our studies would be mutually beneficial and that we would not quarrel. Even in olden days, thousands of years ago, people quarreled on this and that, she said with a quick laugh. She pointed to a picture of a young man teaching 4 students. We will begin our studies with a prayer to Adi Shankaracharya. Who? Adi Shankaracharya, philosopher, teacher, and poet. He was born in Kerala in 788 AD, an incarnation of Lord Shiva, Lord of the cosmos. Everyone is a god, I observed. Not everyone, she said seriously. There are many demons also. Gods and demons. When Shankara was 7 years old, she continued, he left home to find a guru. He trudged from place to place, all across the country, and finally, on the banks of the Narmada River, he approached Govinda Bhagavatpada, the disciple of the great Gaudapada. The boy's mastery of the Vedas impressed Bhagavatpada, who took him on as a disciple. Mastery of the Vedas at age 7! By that time, early 9th century, she went on, bypassing my incredulity. Oh my goodness. Where's the emphasis on these syllables? India was at the center of scholarship of over 30 schools of philosophy. As a youth, Shankara vigorously debated all the great minds of the day. By the age of 16, he had completed his extensive commentaries on 10 major Upanishads. What is an Upanishad exactly? I asked. 200 or so Upanishads are small appendices to the 4 sacred Vedas. The word itself means sitting near. The student sitting near to the teacher. Upa means near. Ni means certainty, and shad means sitting. The prepared student sitting near the enlightened teacher, you can say. She became lost in thought, then quickly picked up the thread. Shankara wrote many Vedantic texts that composed devotional hymns and poetry. His sublime poetry alone would have made him immortal. He established 4 monasteries in the north, south, east, and west, and 10 monastic orders that are active to this day. He died when he was 32 in Kedarnath, high up in the Himalayas, a remote holy place. She bowed her head and recited a prayer of 4 lines, first in Sanskrit, then in English. I salute all the great teachers, beginning with Lord Shiva, through Adi Shankaracharya midway up to my own teacher. I bow down with reverence to all the gurus in this lineage. After a few minutes of silence, we got down to business. Where did this language come from? She asked, rhetorically. The Sanskrit alphabet has a divine origin. The phonemes, distinct, auspicious sounds, arise from the striking of Lord Shiva's damaru, his drum. These were bestowed on Panini, that ancient and most excellent grammarian. She launched into a high-pitched keening that was eerie and sent chills up my spine, yet was recognizable as distinct sounds of letters. Wow, I said. That does sound like it comes from outer space. Actually, let me find the exact sequence of letters that she's referring to so you can hear what they sound like. The sequence that has come from Lord Shiva's damaru sounds like this. Om a I u un or ulk e o ang I ouch ha ya varata lana nyamangana nama jabhanya gadha dasha jabagadha dasha kabha chadha tathava kapaya shasa saraha al. Now, this is normally recited at a particular meter and intonation, and I am unfamiliar with that, but that is the sequence of sounds, at least. Now, let's see where we left off. Wow, I said, that does sound like it came from outer space. First of all, it is most important to learn the exact pronunciation of each phoneme. Consider the palate. Palate? Taste? Flavors? I asked. She stared me down over her reading glasses. The roof of the mouth, she said sternly. Yes, of course. What of it? On a sheet of paper, she proceeded to make a fairly good line drawing of a face in profile. She demarcated the roof of the mouth and numbered 5 spots. These points mark where all sounds come from. Guttural, at the back of the throat, representing the element of space. Then palatal, from the beginning of the hard palate, representing the other elements like fire, air, etc. Go on, she urged. Feel the hard palate with your tongue. Then cerebral from the upper front of the hard palate, dental at the back of your teeth, and labial at the lips. Try. I tried. Each letter, each sound is unique, she said, and is connected to the construction of the palate. Sound is most important. Must be absolutely correct, or energy will be bad, she said. And as an out-of-text commentary, I'd add, Sanskrit is one of the unique languages that don't have variation in accent. There's no North Sanskrit accent or South Sanskrit accent. Sanskrit is so precise that it must be pronounced exactly the same. At least in ancient times. I pointed to the dancing letters, clothes on a line, and the script? Script is not important, she said. Use any script you like. Roman, Cyrillic, what you like, but sound must be completely correct. I would like to learn this script. Devanagari script, she said. City of gods. Definitely the best. Letters match sound perfectly. No accents like in French and German. No silent letters like in English. Every letter pronounced. Devanagari is very suitable, but difficult for you. Maybe it will take 1 year for alphabet only. Then we'd better begin, I said, undaunted. The first 4 vowels took up the lesson. The sound of each letter involving the correct placement of the tongue, management of the breath, and parting of the lips. Americans, she sighed, when she sensed my discouragement. They come here and they want books on Buddha, they say. I tell them Buddha means old man, Buddha, with an aspirated d, and eliciated or prolonged d means the awakened one, the enlightened one. Buddha, not Buddha. These people are quote-unquote educated. They are sincere. Many are Buddhists. As linguistics and a language teacher, I was puzzled. Then I realized Americans cannot hear certain sounds. So how can they repeat them? Their hearing and speaking faculties are stunted. You have the same problem, so you must try extra hard. Can you try and say, duh? I began again with renewed vigor, determined to disprove her specious theory. I raised my voice and became physical, with my whole body entering into the production of the precise sound. In the months that followed, she patiently demonstrated simple and complex vowels, hard and soft consonants, aspirated and unaspirated, nasals, semivowels, and sibilants leading to conjunct consonants, and rules by which letters and words were joined. Each sound matched a phoneme in the curvaceous and sensual Devanagari script, each letter bounded by a horizontal line, a horizon that extended across a word. Every word, every noun, every adjective, every adverb was connected to a root verb of which that were around 2,000, systematized by Panini, the world's first and greatest linguist and grammarian from around the 6th century BCE, centuries before Apollonius Dioscorus the Greek. 7 cases, no required word order, compound words formed by the application of precise rules so that a single word could stretch over a page. 3 positions, singular, plural, and dual. Dual is convenient for famous pairings, Miss Nandi pointed out. Shiva Shakti, Hari Krishna, Rama Sita, Rama Lakshmana, Luv Kush, I found myself drowning in the intricacies, the rationality, and most of all into the beautiful sound of this infinitely flexible language, with its vast vocabulary filled with true synonyms. Sanskrit, perfect, refined, eternal. It had become our practice to cap off each lesson with a cup of sweet tea, fragrant with cinnamon, cardamom, and cloves, over which she took great pains, accompanied by cakes with pink icing that I bought from the sweet shop next door. And we'll pause our reading of Moksha, liberation, there for now. So thank you for listening. And we'll continue in our protagonist journey to uncover the secrets of the ancient Sanskrit prose which have survived thousands of years, and into the secrets of immortality. Namaste.